Rosa already had a preconceived idea that she was not going to save her teeth, so that simplified it. But I do have that treatment plan in my chart, documented and signed by the patient, so that it is understood that we presented her a saving her teeth type of an option. So here's the options we have. For the upper arch, a conventional denture, a 4 to 5 implant snap-on overdenture, and a 4 to 6 implant screw retain pro arch. In that upper arch, as I said before, I never offer a 2 implant retain overdenture. In the lower arch, because the bone is much stronger, a 2 implant snap-on overdenture is an acceptable option. So instead of 3 options on the lower, we have 4 options. And here's the chart that I give my patients so that they can take this home and understand what the costs are going to be. When we are doing removable options, they understand that they're going to first have an immediate denture if they are dentate, and that there is a cost for that. Now, let's go a little bit more into detail about the legal aspects of this, because having a thorough workup and documenting all this and giving the patient their treatment options and letting them make the decision is very important. And we have to understand that digital technology should be an aid to improve efficiency and the quality of care, not a shortcut to simply increase production, delegate more tasks, and force the lab to make treatment decisions for you. So some of the things that are important are documentation of the existing conditions, communication, presenting all treatment options, and doing a thorough risk assessment. And when I talk about communication, the communication is important both with the patient and with the interdisciplinary team, and also with the laboratory. And it used to be that when we had a complex case and we were going to work as a multidisciplinary team, it would be very difficult to get everyone together to talk about our thoughts on the case, to share information. But today we have all these digital communication platforms that allow us to do this very easily. There's Loop from Straumann, there's SmileCloud from Straumann, and there's Dropbox. But we can basically create a virtual meeting room where we can put our photos, our digital x-rays, our STL files, our CBCT, and our videos. And to me, videos are very important because with static photos, sometimes it's hard to really get that perfect shot, that shot of the transition line. And with videos, we can have the patient be a little more natural. We can crack jokes and make them smile bigger. So to me, the videos are a very important part of the workup. We also have a tool that I would encourage everyone to investigate, and this is through the ITI, and it's a free subscription that's available to everyone that gives us this SAC assessment tool. And what this tool does is it takes us through a series of questions that ask us about what type of case it is, and then it goes through all the factors that could have a relevant action on that case, so that it allows us to evaluate every aspect of the case and understand the risks of that case. So it'll take us through surgical complexity, the anatomy, the structures, our smile line, things like prosthetic volume, aesthetic factors. And as we answer these questions, it's going to give us an answer in terms of whether there's low, medium, or high risk. And as you're going through those questions, it's going to add up all of those through AI, and it's going to give us a summary of what type of case this is. And if it shows us that it's a complex case, maybe it's a case we want to refer out to a prosthodontist or someone who's done these types of cases. And if it's an advanced case, it might be something we want to be mentored with and speak to some people that can help us work through this case. Or if it's a straightforward case, it might be that first case that you want to do because it's not as complex. Okay, so now that we have this case fully worked up and presented the options to the patient, the patient chooses an upper 4-implant supported overdenture and a lower 4-implant supported overdenture. She would have liked to proceed with a fixed case, but due to financial reasons, she could not afford to do that. So when we're working these cases up, the first thing we want is really high quality models that capture all of the anatomical landmarks. The vestibules, the retromolar pad, the retromylohyoid areas, and the hamular notches. And we want these because for these patients, we don't know for sure if we're going to be able to immediately load them. But we want to have a model that we can fabricate an immediate denture just in case we can't load on the day of surgery. It also helps us to mount these models so that we can really thoroughly analyze the case. Here we see the lower model where we've captured the retromolar pads and the floor of the mouth and the hamular notches and the vestibules. And because this patient has so few teeth, there's no way that we can mount these models without first fabricating some base plates and wax rims. We also know that this patient has lost vertical dimension. So with our wax rims, we're going to be able to come up with a vertical dimension based on sound prosthodontic principles. And the way we do that is we take our Bowley gauge, we put a dot on the nose and a dot on the chin, and we're going to measure that vertical dimension of rest. And then once we have our vertical dimension of rest, we can take 2 to 3 millimeters away to determine our vertical dimension of occlusion. And in a case like this, if we were just strictly a digital office and we had a doctor who liked to delegate everything to his assistants, this patient might close into this center occlusion position and the assistant would scan them, and then we'd have a bite that is not correct, that's going to cause problems throughout the case. And we also would have the patient in a closed vertical dimension, and we know that when the lab is planning these cases digitally, it's not as easy to open the vertical dimension because they're not opening it on the arc of curvature, and this is going to introduce additional problems in the occlusion of the case when we go to seat the case. Just as important to me is taking a face bow because this places the maxillary arch in the proper orientation to the skull. It gives us an average dimension or average measurement from the TMJ to the incisal edge position. And it also places the patient's jaw in the correct horizontal position so that when we're working on the articulator or when it's at the lab, we're not introducing cants to the incisal edge, and we're really greatly improving ability to have a nice occlusion when we go to seat these cases. Having mounted models gives us the ability to evaluate every aspect of this case, from restorative space to areas that might need some surgical treatment. And really, the importance of having all this information and the photographs is that in order to put the teeth in the correct position, we have to have the face. And so this is facially driven treatment planning. And then once we know where the teeth are going to be within the face, now we can place the implants in the proper position to be in the confines of the planned tooth position and not in a position where the teeth have been shifting and drifting because it's going to introduce inaccuracies and causes our outcomes of our case to be far from ideal. Now, I referred this patient to a surgeon, and he took a CBCT, and he told me ahead of time that the quality of the bone in the maxilla was not very good, and that he's not going to be able to place implants immediately. So we knew with this patient that we were going to be placing a maxillary immediate denture on the day of surgery.